other ex-Christians that have made journeys similar to yours, either in India or elsewhere? Can you also tell us about them?
Let's talk about India first, Indians. Because in the West, it started somewhere in the 70s and 80s when the likes of eminent Christians like Charles Templeton. Charles Templeton is an associate of Billy Graham. Billy Graham is world's greatest evangelist, I must say. I think he evangelized 3/4 of the world. The 3/4 of Christians that you find today, their families, were evangelized by Billy Graham and his organization. Charles Templeton was an associate of Billy Graham, and he quit Christianity back in 80s, and it was a sensational news. He went to the seminary. Charles Templeton thought that he didn't have the right understanding, and which is why these doubts were coming to him. So he enrolled himself in a seminary and he came out quitting Christianity. So I'm not the first one to quit Christianity after getting into a seminary. So Charles Templeton set the pattern. So 70s and 80s, we saw people like Charles Templeton, and 90s saw eminent Christians like Dan Barker. Dan Barker is also an eminent pastor, songwriter, gospel songwriter, and was a Christian for 25 to 30 years. So he quit Christianity. That was again a sensational news back in America. And if you look at the new millennium, the 2000s, the deconversions have gone several notches higher. The graph just shot north vertically. And it's happening in India too, in all classes of our society. Tribals are coming home at a rapid pace. The disadvantaged communities that were converted through luring are returning, and they're happy to be home. So I would say there are many more, but they do not like to get public for obvious reasons. We know what Christianity is capable of. So I get these messages, private messages, Kamalji, from Christians.
Right.
They cheer me for my work. They tell me that they are done being Christian, but they have to continue going to church for their families, for the society, and they cannot quit going to church. And there are others who quit going to church, who quit Christianity, but do not want to get public. Let me share an interesting incident. There was this young lady from outside India, somewhere in Southeast. She settled somewhere in Southeast Asia, South Asia. So her mother is a leader in a church somewhere in Central India. So this lady reached out to me through a private message, and I moved her to phone, and we had a conversation. I called her to listen to her story, and then we decided that I will interview her, and we scheduled a date. For some reason, I thought I must tell her what she was getting into. I usually don't do that with everybody I interview. But to this young lady, I somehow thought that I should. And especially because her mother was a leader in church. And I don't want anybody to face the backlash that I did. So I told her to go online and watch some of those videos against me, on me, against me. And I called her a week later and asked her if she was ready, what she thought. She said she cannot do what I did. And she said she was not ready to go public. I said, okay, I understand. And I was glad that I made her go through that exercise because I didn't want her to regret, or it's a horrible place to be in, Kamalji, trust me.
The point I'm trying to make here is there are many more that are closeted, that don't want to come out actually. And there was also this one incident where an elderly woman wrote to me. She must be in her 70s. She's a retired English teacher, and she converted her family into Christianity when her daughters were about 9 and 11, 2 daughters. And that was a time when her husband met with an accident.
Okay.
And they were left with only one source of income. So here comes the pastor, the predator, the fisher, and he says that you have to convert to Christianity because now that your husband met with an accident, you won't be able to get your daughters married in Hinduism because Hinduism has this dowry system, and you won't be able to afford it. So if you convert to Christianity, Christianity does not have the dowry system. So again, she was in need of help and all that. So in her vulnerable state, she converts to Christianity. And years later, she gets her daughters married to Christians. The elder one was sent home just after 6 years of marriage because she couldn't have children. And the second daughter suffered domestic abuse because her husband kept demanding expensive gifts for festivals and all that. Now, both the daughters are back with their mother and their father is still bedridden. She asked me one very important question, Kamalji, very important in her note. She said she agrees with what I have to say about Christianity because she's done being a Christian. But what is she going to do by reconverting at this stage in life?
Right.
She says even her burial spaces have been bought from the church. That's what you usually do. So you buy your burial space from the church that you go to. So every church has its own graveyard. That's where you buy space. So she asked me if I can guarantee security for her daughters from the backlash of the church community, like I was facing.
Right.
If she were to quit Christianity and the church and be public about it. Sadly, this was about 2 years ago. I don't think we still have the answer to that, Kamalji. So the point is there are so many Christians that want to come back to their roots, but we don't have that ecosystem yet. So I'm hoping that we will be able to come up with an ecosystem like that, where people can come back to the roots.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.